Hey, good morning, folks. Should IPL 7 be scrapped is the big question that we are asking with Ayaz here. It's also the hottest game property, as we know, but there are many issues that the whole controversy has thrown up, particularly with the Supreme Court now passing a judgment saying, among other things, that the Chennai Super Kings and the Rajasthan Royals should be suspended. The N. Srinivasan, the man at the center of the controversy, should be removed from his position, and Sunil Gavaskar reinstated. So let's come to the court case in a bit, but let's talk about what's fundamentally at stake here with IPL 7 to begin in a month's time. Ayaz, let's lay out the foundation very quickly. What is at stake here? The IPL 7 was supposed to begin in a month. The T20 is still going on. People were expecting something to happen, but now it looks like it's not. And the Supreme Court has now come back. Now tell us, how is the BCCI linked to it at this point of time?
Well, see, the BCCI is the mothership. The IPL is the offshoot of that. It's actually a domestic tournament within India, with an international flavor, no doubt. And obviously, a lot of big corporate houses have got involved. There's massive sponsorship, broadcast rights, etc., etc. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in itself, and it has, if not grown year on year as phenomenally as it did in the first 2 years, it has at least maintained its or retained its kind of clout as a business enterprise.
So, but we are asking the question, should IPL 7 be scrapped? So obviously there is something fundamentally wrong, and therefore we are not, either we are saying that IPL 7, that is this season, be scrapped, or IPL be permanently scrapped. So why are we asking for drastic action such as this at this point of time?
I think the issue really is, Govind, that everybody wants to know, and certainly the Supreme Court has indicated that much in very harsh words, as to how deep the rot is. If the rot is very deep, then some argue that don't have it this year, reach the cause of the rot or the root of the rot, clean it up, and then come back next year with a purge.
Now, this also obviously affects players, and we're really concerned about two players. One is Rahul Dravid and MS Dhoni. So tell us, why are they also under the cloud, and why is there so much concern about their stance on this subject?
Well, Rahul Dravid far lesser. I mean, he only by illusion or by some kind of nexus, because he happens to be an employee, or also he's also heavily, perhaps how heavily is a matter of speculation. Let the tournament go on, all 8 teams. It's happened in the past. Leagues, teams have got fined for misdemeanors. They've been allowed to continue, but in the meanwhile also have a fair and free inquiry. I'm not so sure whether the Supreme Court is in the mood to listen to that. So as
it is not in many other cases.
It's not in many other cases. So next best is only 6 teams.
So if you're watching this and you want to ask Ayaz questions or you want to comment, you can tweet him at Cricketwallah. And you can also tweet me if you wish at Govind Ethiraj, and we'll try and pick up your questions. So there's 1 or 2 questions which have already come, Ayaz. Let me go through them very quickly. So the first is from Tina Tandon. She says that the T20 World Cup is on. According to her, there's not much interest in T20 comparatively, and therefore what does this mean for IPL 7? Number 1. Number 2, she asks, what does this mean for Dhoni's credibility?
Well, I think to answer the first question, I think there is enough interest in T20. I mean, we've seen fairly big crowds in Bangladesh, even when the home team is not playing, because people want to see the big stars. So there is interest in T20. I think the format itself has taken, pretty deep root, is deep rooted. Where Dhoni's credibility is concerned, I think there is this, unfortunately, it's a serious issue that is now confronting him.
So let me quiz you on the first one. I mean, this again, it's a sort of supplement to the question that Tina asked. She says that IPL was supposed to build cult brand, team loyalty like the football clubs, but none of that seems to have happened. It's been 7 years. This is particularly from a tax perspective like a hound over the last many years. Arun, tell us, what are the key, in bullet point form, what are the key issues that are at stake, particularly from a tax and income point of view for the BCCI?
I think, Govind, I last saw the BCCI balance sheet a few years ago. So right now I wouldn't, but when I saw it last, I recollect when we did a show a few years ago with Raj Singh, Dungarpur and others, the BCCI was making 35% profit on 1,000 crore revenue. Now the revenues have multiplied several times over. It's $1 billion enterprise, and the biggest issue, when I speak to a lot of friends in BCCI, some of whom are holding certain important positions, the biggest issue is corporate governance. Just look at a very simple example of one of the cricket associations. The biggest cricket association probably is Mumbai Cricket Association in India. Now the Mumbai Cricket Association got a land allotted, prime plot of land allotted by MMRDA in Bandra. They built an indoor cricket facility. They got the Shirke group. Mr. Shirke is the treasurer of BCCI. They got the Shirke group to build it. And in lieu of building it, they gave the Shirke group the permission to build a swanky club at MCA, which we all know. And very few people know that the Shirke group has a right to collect membership fees from members, from thousands of members for 15 years. It's a 15-year agreement. So it's a virtual subleasing of the land of the plot to Shirke Group, and believe it or not, 900 crores of revenue is likely to be collected by the Shirke Group, 450 crores of which will go to.
What is the spirit that we are talking about? What is fundamentally wrong? Apart from the facts that you've pointed out.
One thing, when you take a free plot of land from the state government, and this I am saying more as a cricket lover, when you take a free plot of land from the state government, you build for what you sought the land for, which is a cricket academy. On the other hand, the showpiece now there is not the cricket ground. The showpiece is now a swanky MCA club from which you're going to make 900 crores of money, 450 crores of which is going to go to the former treasurer of BCCI.
Right.
A company.
Okay. So, Arun, just hold your thought there. I'm also going to come back to you on the MCA in a moment. He's made some larger points, right? He's saying that suggests that the BCI is generally up to no good.
Yeah.
Right? How do you react?
Well, look, I have a, I mean, if I hope I've understood his question correctly. There are two aspects to it. One is land deals between government and whoever else, whether it's qualified to be sold or not, and there's a tribunal to decide that, that's fine. The other is construction of the stadium on land given by the government. I think in India now more and more, and certainly it's happened all over the world, you have public-private partnerships.
Okay.
Nobody wants to just, you allow the government to build, it doesn't work. You invited private capital to come in, and they have, it's like toll nakas. Some of them don't work efficiently, that's a different matter. But you invite people to build a club, you provide the land, and there's a revenue sharing model where the people who've given the land, namely the state, gets money, and the people who put in the money to build the infra, they get it.
Okay. So, Arun, I don't know if you heard Ayaz here, but Ayaz says is that this is really a form of a public.
1996, I was still in school. But you look at what happened in Pilcom. The Pilcom accounts, they were audited by big reputed auditors. But see what happened later on. The BCCI filed a FIR. The problem is, as soon as a new group takes over the affairs of the BCCI, and you dig into what happened in the past, you have so many skeletons in the BCCI cupboard when it comes to finances. The BCCI finances have been shrouded in mystery. They must make it public. They must submit themselves to RTI. And I think if there is really transparency in the BCCI accounts and BCCI finances, I think that will go, in solving the state of affairs at BCCI law. And that, according to me, is a big issue.
We've brought in that point of view. The BCCI as a body needs to be far more transparent, and this has been debated for a while in any case. Now let's come back, right? Question is, should IPL 7 be scrapped? BCCI, as we've articulated, is the mothership, and therefore if the mothership's own workings are somewhat under suspicion, then maybe the so to speak, what viewing audience, and number two, the legal part, which we can only talk about, but obviously the Supreme Court will administer.
Fundamentally, Govind, I think that where it has been flawed from the very beginning, that you had a governing council which was made up of people who were, it was almost like a cozy club.
Right.
I think when you float an enterprise of this nature, it's been shamed that this has been happening, and this has been happening for a few years, and not enough has been done to prevent it, if not completely eradicated. I don't believe that corruption can be completely eradicated. It's difficult to get into a player's mind.
And when you say corruption, you're mostly talking about spot fixing and the like.
Okay. Yeah. Quid pro quos, that's a different issue also, altogether. But corruption, where what happens on the field is concerned, because that's where the integrity of the game is paramount.
Right.
If that is not addressed in a very robust manner, then the whole edifice is on very flaky, built on very flaky ground. I think that's something that they have not managed to do. And having known that it's almost like a bazaar that has been opened, a souk, where everybody comes and does deals. All that is fine, off the field. But you have to have a robust vigilante kind of approach to what's happening on the field. That has not been done.
Okay.
I think going ahead, that was fundamental. There's no guarantee that you can eliminate corruption. I don't think match fixing happens as much as spot fixing happens.
Sure.
Very difficult to pinpoint. But you have to create enough checks and balances which were not
Sure.
done.
Sure.
Conflict of interest. Srinivasan owning a team. Now, we can demonize Srinivasan and perhaps he's done a lot of things which are not right. But this was, how was he allowed to form a team in the first place? The president then was Sharad Pawar. People involved were Lalit Modi and Farooq Abdullah and Arun Jaitley and
right. So you're saying clean up the specifics and improve the quality of administrative governance for the match itself, for the game itself. On the other hand, improve the quality of governance, which is separate, create a Chinese wall or separate church and state and so on.
And therefore as a viewer and as a participant and perhaps one of the biggest stakeholders in the game as a fan, I must believe what I'm seeing.
Right.
If that trust.
And when you say fan of IPL also, or is it fan of cricket in general?
Well, I think IPL essentially, because this is the IPL we're talking about. Of cricket itself, I think, Indian cricket is in the vanguard of the sport. There are not too many countries that play it. India provides 75% of the eyeballs, the revenues, the audience. If you don't take the lead, then the sport itself is under peril.
Okay.
So I think that's, while it may seem secondary now to the IPL, it is no less important.
Right. So as we are running out of time, so what's next? I mean, I know the Supreme Court will pass some kind of judgment or they will do something. Chennai Super Kings, Rajasthan Royal, in all probability will not participate, or maybe they could. It's not clear. 6 teams could well go ahead. There's also some question mark about where they will go ahead. There's a lot of money riding on this whole thing.
Yes.
What's the next?
I don't think,
react
there
in
are
that
some
manner.
people who have argued, including some former players, the IPL should just be scrapped. I think that is,
Okay. And that's because they may not like the...
very nihilistic.
Yeah. And many people don't like IPL in the format, right? Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that could be the reason they're saying that?
That could be the reason they're saying it, but that's being very nihilistic. I think there's a huge section of people who like it, who love it, but who want it to be really clean.
Right. Right. Ayaz, thank you very much for that, for providing a pretty good omnibus perspective of what went wrong and what is going wrong, what needs to be done to fix it. And the 2 points that have really come through in our discussion. First is fix things at the administrative level when it comes to match fixing. Second is clean up at the corporate governance level and create clear delineation between the people who own the teams and the ones who run the administrative body or the regulatory body, so to speak, which is the BCCI.
You need a cultural change in the way cricket is being played and run in India. More run than played.
Right. This conversation will of course continue. Meanwhile, we'll wait to see how the Supreme Court moves forward on the IPL case. Keep coming back on Hangout at Air with us here at Boom News. Thanks for watching.